I
Mhm.
know for me, it's like the hardest thing, like when I did mine, the hardest thing that I had to do, well, actually, the way it came about for me to get help, Tammy had to sit me down and say, listen, we need to have a talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
realized, like, she made me realize it's like the way I was acting wasn't normal, but I had to see like the way I was treating her wasn't godly, and I didn't want her to suffer anymore. And
Right.
she finally said, "We need to go to a doctor to get you some help." And I think about after a couple of weeks, I finally agreed. And I tell you, that was the hardest thing to go to
Right.
somebody else and say, "I struggle with this." But I remember the doctor asking me questions. She would say, "Okay, I'm going to throw this out there, and you tell me if you struggle with this." And
Mm-hmm.
she would say, like, crowds. Do you get anxious in crowds? I'm like, yes. Do you
Mm-hmm.
do this? Do you do that? And I'd be like, yes, yes, yes. And she said, well, that's normal. And I was like, what? And because like me, it's like
Right.
I thought that I was the only one that was like, feeling all that. But it took that revelation that I might lose the only person that,
Mm.
because of the way I was, dealing with everything. But after
Right.
going to the doctor and to hear her say, "Well, that's normal," said, and she's, well,
Mm.
her actual words, "Well, that's just a chemical imbalance, and we can." Now, I will say this: it took a couple of it took a couple of trials to figure out which
Right.
medication,
Right. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
the first one I was on, it seemed like it took what was already there and like magnified it,
Right.
and
Right.
it's like, no, I think it
Yeah.
was Zoloft maybe, but it's like I can't do that. It's like we got to try something else.